Hi, this is my testimony, my story about how Mirror Mirror came about. This is the story that changed everything. I was living in Saudi Arabia in 1997 when unexpectedly I began to have back pain. I had been a Christian for about 6 years. I'd been perfectly fine up until that time with no previous problems at all. The doctor told me I had spina bifida occulta. When they told me, I literally felt the blood drain from my face. I didn't know what that condition was, but it sounded scary and it was ruining my life. No matter what I did, the pain didn't go away. The doctors didn't know what to do with me. They said I shouldn't even be in pain. What to do? I did not know that this pain would end up lasting for about 8 years. I know, right? As the pain dragged out over time with no relief, I began to lose heart. I felt like I was living in a smaller and smaller box, a prison really, and I couldn't see any escape. I pretty much couldn't do anything. I couldn't work or look after the home. Everything was a big deal. Stirring soup was a big deal. I couldn't look after my family. I missed out on all kinds of fun and events. I always ended up staying home, alone, with my thoughts. If I went anywhere, surely I was a burden and I was no fun. The pain had become this monster in my head, and it was robbing me big time. It was all I could think about. And fear began to grow in me. This anxiety was like a constant companion. I would lay outside in a bikini in the backyard during the day in the Saudi heat. It was just too depressing to stay inside. But there was this huge rubber tree in the backyard that I nicknamed the Tree of Fear. I was spiraling down. I felt I was losing my friends and my family. I was losing weight, I was losing my footing, and I was losing myself. I felt like I was losing everything. I felt worthless and a burden to everyone. Well, it was during this time that I began searching everywhere for help. I devoured self-help books, and when that didn't help, I started to spend a lot of time with God. It was just God and me, the end of the line. In the year 2000, I moved to Magnetic Island, Australia. I was on my own a lot with the kids for about 3 years as my husband was working in East Timor. I'd moved to Australia with the kids because I couldn't handle going back to Saudi Arabia. I was not handling things well emotionally, and I was very close to a breakdown. The anxiety I felt was now worse than the constant pain in my back. Now, during a particularly difficult day alone on that beautiful island, I found myself yet again praying and crying out to God. Why was this happening to me? I had insecurities that kept bubbling up inside of me, thoughts that I was worthless, unloved, unlovable, a burden, and useless. And you know, frankly, I was just done with the whole thing, and I was angry. I thought I dealt with all these emotions time and again, but they just kept resurfacing, and I felt like I was drowning. Now, as I was praying, suddenly I heard God's voice. Now, I'm not sure if it was audible or if it was just loud in my head. I'd never heard his voice before, and it cut through my thoughts and my despair like a knife. His words were so clear and so contrary to how I was thinking and feeling that it took me a few minutes to sort out what had just happened. Was I going crazy? I'd been on a rant, and it was like water had just been thrown on me. I stopped talking and I listened. He said, "You are looking in the world's mirror to see who you are." The words that changed my life. I don't know why he spoke to me at that moment. I had been dealing with this pain and these feelings for years. Maybe I was finally at the end of my rope with nowhere else to go. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about. There was the shock of hearing his voice, and there was the great mystery of the world's mirror. What a strange and intriguing thing to say. I knew in my heart that I had heard God. I felt the mirror was like a clue, a puzzle piece, an answer, and maybe a way out. I felt hope, although I didn't know what any of it meant. I didn't know I could even have an actual dialogue with God. I'd encountered God's presence during my born-again experience, but now he was speaking to me. I could actually hear him. He had opened a conversation with me, and now I needed to pursue this. You are looking in the world's mirror to see who you are. What on earth? Okay, so what did this mean exactly? I started asking him questions. What did all of this look like in real life? So over the next few months, God began answering my questions when I was in prayer, chatting with him. He answered the questions in a series of visions. I'll share more about that later. It was a tremendous time of insight and revelation. Not only did I learn a lot about how God speaks, but I learned about the kingdom of God and my true identity in him through Jesus. I wrote and illustrated a little poem in a book called Mirror Mirror, and then developed the Mirror Mirror Masterclass. They are the fruit of that amazing, in-depth, revealing season. Now, I call the class a masterclass not because I know everything, but because I am the master of my own story. Now, I have the opportunity to share the things I've learned with you. So, let's start by taking a look into the world's mirror. What is the world's mirror anyway?